Hi, it's Kiffin Lobates here, and I'm walking out in the rain in order to start a new video series that I'm going to call Ledgers and Layers, because talking to people, I've come to realize that one of the fundamental problems people have with blockchain and cryptocurrency tokens and with NFTs in particular is that they find it hard to distinguish between the different levels that exist in the blockchain world and what the significance of those different layers or levels are. So to start with, it's probably a good idea to define what a ledger is or explain what a ledger is. Now, to some of you that's going to seem blindingly obvious, but to other people it may be something that you haven't really thought about before. So if we go back 5,000 or so years ago to Mesopotamia, which is now modern-day Iraq, people came up with a great idea there, namely that they could represent real objects such as pots of honey or bags of grain or oxen using marks on clay tablets, and those were the first ledgers. And this allows you to do all sorts of amazing economic things that previously hadn't been possible. For example, you might have a family with a bag of grain and they would have to keep it in their house, and if you've got 100 houses and everybody's got a bag of grain and they're looking after it in their back room, or in fact not their back room, they probably only had one room, that's inefficient. What you can do as a team is you can build a grain silo, have one person responsible for making sure the rats don't eat the grain, and then when you want your grain you go to the silo and get it. But that means you need to be able to keep track of who has how much, and what they used were ledgers, clay tablets where they put marks in cuneiform on the tablets in order to keep track of who owned what. And that concept really hasn't changed very much to the modern day. We still use ledgers to record the ownership of things. However, one of the things that we have done is we've started using ledgers to record the ownership of things that don't actually exist in the real world. Whereas a pot of honey or an oxen or a bag of grain is a real object that you can point to and say, there it is, that's mine. If you're talking about abstract concepts such as the copyright of a book, or a patent relating to an invention, or even a sum of money, you're now keeping track of the ownership of something that isn't real but actually has genuine value. And it's this advancement in ledgers that I think is one of the most significant modern day inventions that we've come up with as a species. Now, a blockchain can be simplified as something that is a ledger. It just happens to be a bit different from our usual ledgers in that it's kept track of in a decentralized manner. Rather than having an accountant or a scribe or a company that is responsible for maintaining the ledger, for example, a government organization that keeps track of the ownership of copyright, or a patent office that keeps track of the ownership of patents, you have a ledger that is in the collective community and that anybody in the community can download and verify. But I won't go into the specific details of the mechanics behind blockchain. All you need to know for the purposes of this series is that blockchain functions as a kind of ledger, and it keeps track of who owns how much of what. And the what could be some cryptocurrency, for example Bitcoin on the Bitcoin ledger, or Ether rather, on the Ethereum ledger, or NFTs that have been instantiated on a ledger. And in the next video I'll be talking about ledgers on ledgers, which will allow us to examine NFTs a little bit more carefully and closely. So look out for that video. Hope you found this one interesting, and I'll see you in the next video soon. Bye for now.